Good morning from Santa Barbara, California. I want to read you something I wrote regarding how trauma enters the body as shock and what happens after that. Shock is one of the least discussed aspects of trauma out in the trauma recovery community. There's a lot of emphasis on how to respond somatically through things like cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR. There's a lot of different approaches, top down, cognitive, bottom up, somatic. But the one thing that I find that is consistently present within my clients that they have no idea they're experiencing is the reality of sustained shock that develops inside of us after we experience trauma, especially if we re-experience that trauma in a relationship or we experience new traumas, as is usually the case in most of our lives. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, and I think you will find it valuable. And this is about how trauma turns into anxiety, the symptomatic energy that wakes up inside of us during the day and becomes agitated, and we get flustered. We don't feel like we're quite in our body and having a hard time just taking the present moment, navigating through the day. This is about understanding that anxiety is the history of your trauma in your body in the form of sustained shock. When something traumatic happens, especially if it's something violent or overwhelming, the body goes into shock. Our normal energy field is just here doing something, being ourselves. Trauma enters the nervous system, the brain, everything goes into shock. One minute we're quote unquote okay. The next minute we are in shock and experiencing trauma. It's a split second thing that happens. What happens? Your body freezes up. Your nervous system freezes up. You stop breathing. The heart starts pumping. The mind goes blank or feels like it's moving too fast. This is the nervous system saying way too much information, way too much experience, way too much intrusion or violation or into entering in of something that I didn't see coming. I cannot process this right now. I just have to survive. That's what we call shock. And if nothing comes back to help you, if there isn't a person to help you get grounded, like a paramedic often in a car accident scene, will come over and help you. Okay, sir, madam, you're in shock. Here, let me help you just kind of process what's happening here. Look around. If there's no comfort, no explanation, no safety that gets restored after trauma enters into you and puts you in a state of shock, then the shock stays in your body and it migrates. It forms in the brain and the nervous system as the initial shock, then the impact. And as the impact forms inside and as time passes and nothing is being restored, safety is not being restored, love, help, resources. When shock gets stuck in the body, various things happen. The muscular system tends to stay tight. The breath will stay shallow. The brain is scanning for danger. Now there has been too much information of some other force coming in, taking over our body and putting us in a state of shock. And even when the trauma is over, the body doesn't know that it's over. Trauma dislocates us out of the flow of time. Our normal day progresses one event to the next, and we go from waking up to going to bed, and that was a day. With trauma, it's like, nope, this is a trauma. This is now a discrete, distinct moment of time, like a movie that loops over and over again. Shock, impact, trauma settling in. The effects of the impact are now becoming regularly embodied on a day-to-day level. And then after that, some days are better than others. Some days are not so good when the trauma and the shock are active and you're getting triggered by something like having to speak in front of people or just having to do too much during the course of a day. There's not enough space to relax. That is where we go into what's called anxiety. And it's when the body is stuck in shock for too long. And that length of time can, for depending on who you are, if you've carried shock for sometimes a week, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, that shock that stayed in your body, no matter what you've done throughout your life, if you can't heal and resolve the shock, anxiety becomes a normal pattern. Feeling nervous for no reason, racing heart, shortness of breath, difficulty sleeping, always anticipating something about to happen that's bad. Even when you're safe, technically looking around, you're still anticipating, you're bracing against something. That's the shock reliving in those quick moments of anxiety. That's the shock replaying. And then just feeling trapped in your body. You're overwhelmed by small things, doing the littlest things. It doesn't mean you're broken. You're definitely not crazy. And your body is just trying to protect you from something that already happened. It's telling you, anxiety is the way of your body telling you, this charge is not gone yet. That moment of shock is still present, overpowering and displacing the present moment, coming in and saying, I'm right here. Take a look at me. Feel me. I'm here. So, how do we heal? How do we release the shock? As you know, if you're my client, we do circular breathing, which creates a hormonal, neurological, physiological, cognitive shift in how the body functions. Circular breathing basically says to the body, right now, in this moment, we are safe. The heart slows down. The hormone system goes from pumping cortisol in the shock, bracing for something negative, to receiving the breath. The nervous system receives the breathing rhythm, the uninterrupted breathing rhythm, and slowly the nervous system begins to remember what it's like to function in safety, to live in the present moment in safety. With that, we're slowing down and you're starting to recreate what it feels like to be in your body in small doses. Like, this is what normal feels like. Oh, this is what normal feels like. This is what normal feels like. And slowly, the nervous system develops more of a foundation of uh, being able to choose, especially through the circular breathing, but also movement, mindfulness, communication, boundary setting, restoring a lot of the things that are often disrupted through trauma, meaning shock, impact, and then the long-term embodiment of trauma through all the symptoms, which are often faced or are often communicated to us through the anxiety. With this practice, with the restoring of safety, mindfulness, present moment, having choice, suddenly the anxiety begins to become something that you can observe with the frontal lobe of the brain, which goes offline during anxiety and shock and trauma. And anxiety becomes a pattern that you can observe and begin to work with by making different choices on how to manage and respond to it. So that is a quick, short video on what is anxiety, what's happening inside of us, and how do we restore a body that is free from anxiety. I can't emphasize enough that while it all begins in safety in the body through circular breathing, restoring the correct hormonal flow, heart rate, brain chemistry, the frontal brain comes back online, the fear and threat detecting parts of the brain slow down and calm down. That's just baseline. Then we have to have boundaries, a safe environment, the restoration of empathy, and fairness has to become an exchange in our life in terms of we get to have agency for ourselves, empathy for others, and there's a back and forth flow. We're now dealing with that same circular flow in relationship. That's the ultimate goal because ultimately, in relationship trauma, relationship is the environment that restores who we are back into the normal safety, connection, and trust. So I hope this is helpful, and thanks for watching.